Welcome to Purpose Project. I'm your host, Leslie Pagel, and this season we're exploring what it means to live life to the beat of our own drum. In today's episode, I sit down with Marina Danilova. She is the founder of Integrative Leadership and Wellbeing. Marina takes an approach to healthcare that is rooted in ancient tradition and yet somehow has become somewhat untraditional in today's age of medicine. Her integrated approach to health cares not just for the symptoms, but for the whole person, helping her clients live their lives to the beat of their own drum. Let's take a listen. Great. Marina, thank you for being on Purpose Project. I'm looking forward to digging into this topic of living life to the beat of our own drums. I've been very interested in exploring that from a variety of angles. And one of those angles is our health, our medical system, our health care, how we care for ourselves. So, can you tell us a little bit about how you might be going against the grain when it comes to healthcare?
I suppose some people may see it as going against the grain because I challenge the idea that one system alone can have all the answers. So what you call traditional view is actually our modern view, scientific view. I refer to traditional view on health linked to traditional medicine, and traditional medicine predates our modern biomedicine. And it focuses on the whole person approach, on nature-based treatments, and on restoring balance so the body can heal itself. Examples can include Chinese medicine, which I practice, or other traditions, let's say Ayurveda. But as I said, I don't think I'm going against the norm because I simply think we need different approaches for different issues. So our modern medicine is so brilliant when it comes to really serious diseases, maybe emergency situations, when very powerful advanced interventions are required. But then exactly the same approach falls short when we talk about chronic conditions or quality of life issues. And I think that's when people can feel unseen and unsupported. And my work fills that gap. And for me, above all, it's about approach. So it's not using herbs instead of drugs, but about seeing life and health differently. So I take a holistic approach, which means that I treat the person, not the disease. So I see everything that's going on in the person's body as interconnected, but also it's not just the whole body approach, it's really a whole person approach. So there is no real separation between mind and body, between how we feel physically and how we think, feel, and act.
I love the clarification around the word traditional, because what I heard you say is your approach precedes the latest and greatest medical modern day approaches to healthcare. Your approach is rooted in ancient history.
Absolutely, it's rooted in tradition. That's why it's called traditional medicine. And Chinese medicine, for example, I should speak about it maybe because that's what I know best. It's rooted in philosophy. So that's what makes it beautiful and very, very practical if you're able to extract the timeless value from it.
And I also heard that your approach, your views appreciate modern day medicine too, in some aspects. You talked about emergent situations, but then also the tradition approach, which is more the whole self approach.
I don't see it's going against the mainstream medicine, what I practice. I simply think, like you said, that there are situations when modern medicine should take a lead And then my work can still support it, let's say with lifestyle suggestions or with some more gentle interventions to support the person during the invasive treatment. And there are other situations when or in general, holistic approach should take a lead with specialist doctors being involved as part of the process. So both are needed.
And then one of the other things that I heard is you said sometimes in the modern day approach, patients, humans don't feel heard or seen in their journey. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
I think because the modern approach focuses on parts of your body, and sometimes it's very difficult to appreciate the suffering of people if you, for example, check everything and things may seem right, or if the solution from modern medicine means prescribing a medication, but it may not make a big difference to how the person feels. And when they're trying to get more attention and more solutions, that's where probably modern approach has some shortcomings.
Could you share an example of this distinction?
I work with women, so let's talk about women. So I see women with quality of life issues, women who go through transitional phases, women who have chronic conditions that are very complex, let's say PCOS, endometriosis. So we work, if I talk more practically, I look at their lifestyle and also, like I say, not only how their physical symptoms are connected, but what's going on in their life. Because women's health issues, for example, are never just physical issues. It's easy to appreciate how much they affect the woman's identity, her maybe personal and professional goals, her relationships, intimate relationships, social relationships. So we look at all of this together, and through lifestyle, through some more gentle interventions, for example, herbal medicine or some targeted supplementation, but also we discuss how a woman can align her health with her inner values and what she wants from life.
Right. I heard you talk about was that your approach is rooted in philosophy. Can you say a little bit more about that? Because is that getting at kind of these social dynamics and the relationship dynamics that are at play? Is that a connection to philosophy as well?
Yes, it is, because holistic approach means that to really heal and thrive, we need to address all aspects of our being. So not just physical, but mental, emotional, and even spiritual. And these philosophical principles, they give us tools how to approach it. Of course, I have to customize how I communicate about them to patients. I speak different languages with different patients depending on what appeals to them. But for me, I extract the value from those ancient teachings, the ones that I say are timeless. So it's not because they're old and they must be true, but because I see the timeless value in them.
Going to ask if there's an example.
So Chinese medicine teaches us to live in harmony with nature. Now, of course, we can only look at the surface of this statement and think that's just theoretical idea, but actually it's very practical. And what it means is to live in harmony with nature at large. For that, we need to get a sense how nature works, understand its processes, its rhythm, and then align our life with those rhythms. So specific examples mean that we have regular sleep and wake cycles, we eat at regular times, we may adjust our meals to the season of the year. But just in general, it means to understand that life processes are not linear, they're cyclical. And that's what we can apply to our own expectations about how to live our life. So we all think of useful application of time is when we do something, and
Right.
then we almost feel guilty or not right when we take a rest. But from the principle that I mentioned point of view, that's not correct, because you need to alternate activity with rest. You
Right.
need time to recover. Every growth in nature is followed by consolidation, every activity by rest. And we harm ourselves if we don't apply this principle into how we live our life.
Right. Well, and as you were sharing that example, I found myself thinking about this, this season is all about living life to the beat of our own drums, which is also about going against the grain of some social norms. And I think what you just clarified for me is that the living life to the beat of your own drum, the thing that you're helping your clients do is a different way of living their lives, right?
That's right. Just think about our modern life. Our devices can be switched on any time of the day,
Mhm.
but we are not designed to be on, to be switched on at any time. We need this cyclicality. So of course
Yeah.
it's not something you have to accept. Just I tell my patients or women I work with, try to live like this and see what changes. And maybe I can mention another aspect of living in harmony with nature,
Mhm.
because I mentioned external nature, the workings of the world around us, but also it means living in harmony with our true nature. And
Mhm.
that's my favorite part. I think that's what drew me to Chinese medicine so much, because even learning it and then practicing it, of course, it's a whole process of discovery who we really are
Mhm.
behind our roles, behind expectations of other people, behind beliefs or habits.
Yeah.
Actually, a lot of things start to unfold a bit differently, or quite a bit differently in life. And I think when it comes to health, because that's my profession, sometimes when we get stuck with resolving physical issues, that's where the root cause can be, that the person is too detached from who they truly are.
Mhm.
Once again, it's not just a theoretical knowledge. Many people experience it. If they're stuck with some chronic issue, it can be rooted in their disconnection with their
Yeah.
true self.
I'd love to explore reactions that you hear from others when you talk about what you do. What are some common reactions that you hear?
It's probably difficult to generalize, because in general people are polite. I don't get negative reactions, but of course I know that some people are skeptical, but I think it's mainly because a lot of people don't know what it's all about.
Right.
If you have superficial idea that there is some other form of medicine or approach to health, and if it's not directly scientific, even though it's scientific in its own way, then it must be some outdated and primitive. So
Mhm.
I don't take those people's opinions personally at all. I think it comes from the lack of understanding. When you start explaining, so for example, if I have workshops for general public and I start explaining, actually it makes sense to most people. And
Mhm.
most people say, yeah, we're surprised that not more people talk about it, or that even their doctors, for example, don't mention that they may seek additional help from a practitioner like myself. I think the reactions are either curiosity,
Mhm.
or probably skeptical people just are being polite.
Yeah. What about doctors? What's the natural or common reaction that you might hear from them?
The doctors that I know personally, I know them for a reason because they're already very open-minded.
Yeah.
And that there are medical doctors who are trained in other modalities of medicine, let's say Chinese medicine or yoga. They can integrate other approaches or open private integrative medicine clinics. So, but I think my general impression, again, they simply don't know enough because, of course, they are not taught about alternative approaches. And then if you're not curious about it, you're unlikely find out the principles of those approaches. So let me say that as alternative medicine practitioners, we are trained to quite a good degree in biology and anatomy and physiology, which I think is essential. And then it's up to us. For example, I keep myself updated and continuously develop the knowledge of modern research when it comes to women's health. It's what I expect from myself. It's not necessarily the requirements for my profession, but I benefit from having an insight in both approaches.
Right.
And I think Western medical doctors would benefit from it too. It doesn't mean they need another 3 years of education in acupuncture, but some introduction in what it's all about, that would be beneficial because I think that would make them more open-minded about all these complementary modalities.
You were talking about how it's common for people to react with either curiosity or skepticism. What tips them over to saying, I need to make this a part of my life?
I think you need to feel not well. I think you need to experience really uncomfortable feelings about your life. It doesn't mean you need to suffer physically, but there is something that you know must change. If you see that your issue is just a physical one, I try to help that symptom. But I think no one from outside can motivate or inspire the person enough to change. It should be the readiness inside. And that comes when you're unhappy with something,
Yeah.
either with how you feel about your life, about yourself, about the world. Usually it's this very unpleasant feeling of discomfort that pushes people to do something because it's a lot of work to live, like I mentioned, in harmony with your true nature. And it's not something you just decide and change.
Right.
It's more or less a lifelong evolving process. But if you decide to start that process, I think in itself, it makes a life filled with curiosity and learning and discovery and much deeper feeling of connection.
In your journey, let me back up because I don't know if you've told your whole story about how you were in a completely different profession before. Can you tell that story?
Well, my background is indeed a bit eclectic, personally and professionally. I've lived in different countries. I traveled the world, worked with people across cultures. My first degree is in law, and then I worked for over 20 years in corporate business. And in my late 30s, in a complete twist, I retrained as a Chinese medicine practitioner and started my integrative medicine business. So since I started, that's slightly over than 10 years ago, I never had a doubt in the choice of profession, in the direction that I've taken, but I've become quite professionally restless, so to say. So I often feel uncomfortable, but not because of other people's opinions, like we discussed, but because of my own standards. So I challenge a lot of things, including within my own field, and that makes me very curious, and that's why I continue developing and continue questioning and learning and refining. So
Yeah.
that's a big part of my path. And but that's also one of the most favorite parts, that I love learning and I love making sense of what I learn, and I like to structure and refine that knowledge. So
Yeah.
that's not a negative, but it's just, I'm talking about the feeling of being uncomfortable with what you're doing. It doesn't come from, in general, the choice of direction, but this internal inquiry and questioning that keeps you very restless.
So can we peel back that a little bit? There was a knowingness within you. So where did it come from?
It's like a fire. It definitely felt like it and still feels like it. I love it so much. I think I shouldn't overrate my role in that. So, of course, it was this, let's say, internal compass that was pointing in that direction, just because I loved it so much. And I've learned something that I thought is useful, that it can help people to suffer less. So I was very eager to start. But like many these turning points in life, other things need to fall in the right place as well. So
Mhm.
I don't overestimate my role or drive. It's, yeah, a lot of things need to align for that to happen. And
Right.
I was at the stage of, like I said, I already had a career for 22 years. So I made some savings. I had a flat. You know, these
Right.
things, they matter as well, because if you take this decision, you should still be responsible. That's part of the consideration. You cannot just follow your heart. If you do it irresponsibly, it's simply selfish. So
Mhm.
I didn't want to be selfish. I think it's the conditions also were right, and
Mm.
then it met my internal desire to change my life at that point. Can you relate to what I said, that when you go for something like this, it's some internal discomfort that pushes you, that it doesn't come like an intellectual idea, or that's interesting to do and maybe others want to know. It's something that you cannot ignore anymore.
That is very much what it was for me, for sure.
I like that we can shape ourselves. So that's also, yeah, one of the learnings of life in general. So it doesn't come from any philosophy, but again, reflecting how nature continuously recreates itself. We
Right.
can, I think we are given that
Absolutely.
ability to recreate ourselves, evolve, change the direction, and that's beautiful. It's so empowering not
Yeah.
to feel that you just, yeah, controlled by the circumstances and the situation. And often you don't really need to change much. It's not
Right.
about dramatic changes, right? It's
Right.
more about what's going on inside. And then, like I said, things start feel more right, and almost like you don't want to change that much anymore when you do the change internally.
So it was an inner thing that you paid attention to, and externally you had the conditions that gave you comfort in taking this step forward.
Like I say, it's so many things need to feel right.
Right.
And that was probably my reflection. I don't know if I'm lucky in life, but when I took those life-turning decisions, it was always as if life supported me.
Yeah.
If I put a profession aside, let's say when I moved to Sweden from my home country, Russia, it was also, of course, I went for an opportunity, but it's very difficult to make it happen just on your own. A
Yeah.
lot of things happened at the right time, exactly how they should, and made it possible.
I have goosebumps because when I hear you say that, and I hear other people talk about their experiences, what I wonder is that an example of living in harmony with the environment where you are honoring your soul's calling. And in doing that, our environment is supporting you in that.
Let me think about it. It is possible that maybe the environment is supporting it, but maybe also our intuition is aligned with the situation. So it's very difficult.
You use the word intuition, which it's a word that I've been trying to connect with, because I do feel like modern day education, upbringing is more centered around our intellect, our thinking brain, and intuition is the feeling.
I like that you connect those two, because once again, I think both are needed, and it's all about perspectives. So, and good is good. It's useful and valuable to embrace different perspectives and bring them together. So, for example, you mentioned intuition and your rational mind. Whatever you approach, probably you will benefit if you bring them together rather than choose one over the other. The same goes for what I talked about, holistic picture, but we still need some precision and the attention to significant details.
Yeah.
So I do it professionally, and that's why I call what I practice integrative medicine. So I try to integrate tradition and modern research, this holistic picture, interconnectedness, but also precision and structure and flow. And that's when I think you enrich your experiences and hopefully come up with better choices and decisions.
Another thing that you talked about was the importance of responsibility. And that was one of the things that in season 1 of Purpose Project, season 1 was all about people pursuing their purpose, and they had clarity in their purpose and they were actively pursuing it. And one of the things that I took away in that is that responsibility isn't a negative. When you hear the word responsibility, it kind of feels like a weight, like you got to carry things, and but it's not. It is how you feel a sense of freedom. You have to take responsibility, right?
Absolutely, yes. And I don't see responsibility as something like you said can be heavy, or it doesn't mean at all that you need to be serious or it's a boring thing. I think you can be responsible and still have a relaxed attitude to life. And you can do your duty and still take things lightly.
Yeah.
And maybe that balance actually between meaning and lightness and purpose and ease is how I try to live.
There are some people that are listening to this podcast and they are unsure of how to step forward in living their life to the beat of their own drums. Any advice that you have for that person?
I think often the biggest obstacle is internal. You talk about social norms, but I think if you're very clear what you want, social norms shouldn't be stopping you.
Right.
When I talk about internal, I mean that sometimes we don't even know what we want. And so maybe the first tip would be to explore what is important for you, what is your truth. As I mentioned earlier, try to find out who you are beyond your beliefs and experiences, influences. So reflect inward and do this internal work, finding who you really are. Then, of course, it's not enough. You need to work with what you find. And there are different approaches how you can develop self. And if you're already at the stage that you clearly know what you want and it feels right, and like we discussed, it doesn't do harm to yourself or other people, that's what being responsible means, then probably you need some courage or discipline, different, again, in different situations. Sometimes we just need to do it and do it not for the result, but just if it's our calling, we do it for the process of it.
Yes.
Maybe sometimes you need courage, but once again, I think courage was not ever my issue, because once again, I think when you have a clear understanding of what is right for you, and you know that it won't cause any discomfort or won't harm people around you, then why not? It's one life and it's not that long. So we just need to go for it. And if it's a mistake, we can correct it. It's not the end of the world.
If someone wanted to work with you, could you tell a little bit more about the type of patients that you work with and how they could get a hold of you?
I work with women's health, even though my work is not limited to that, but I chose to specialize on that. I have clinics in England and in Sweden where I live. I also see patients online, but primarily in Europe, because some of my treatments, they can be shipped, but maybe not all over the world. I help women throughout their life with issues related to fertility or chronic conditions. My focus has been to support women in midlife, and actually with this focus, I expanded my reach beyond my clinic, and I'm now working on establishing partnership with different organizations and to bring menopause discussions to workplaces or to networking events for women in leadership. I'm passionate about it because other conditions, of course, it can be very individual. All these health issues women can experience throughout their life, they can be relevant for them, but not for others. But midlife transition will affect every woman. And I think I can bring my expertise to the lives women already have, so they don't need to look for help. Let's say most of the women we know spend a lot of time at work, and I have this vision to bring midlife education to workplaces so that women can get support and maybe some guidance at work, and as a result everyone benefits. So women will feel better, perform better, will be more ambitious, can share more wisdom with their colleagues, and workplaces will benefit because of this wisdom and stabilizing presence women can bring at this point in life.
And where would someone go to connect with you?
Website, probably it's easier to go to my website. It's my full name, marinadanilova.com.
Okay, I will put that in the show notes as well for anyone who wants to reach out. Anything else left unsaid on the topic of living life to the beat of our own drums?
Maybe just this: life is not a performance. It's not about getting from A to B. I see life as art, creation, a process, a dance. And it's good to tune in to the music of life, to understand what life is all about, to understand its rhythms beyond the noise of ideas and influences. I think staying connected to ourselves, to others, to something bigger than us is important, because then everything seems to fall into place, seems to feel just right, just how it should be. You're not waiting for things to change to be perfect. If you aligned and connected then it feels that you're exactly at the right time and you feel good about yourself and the world. I would also, as a practitioner, I would say, listen to your body more. We talked about intuition, and we don't know. Some people say it's just a shortcut how your brain works. But I think we can feel a lot in our body because the body is always present. It doesn't live in the past and future. It's always here and now. And all the sensations and symptoms we may experience, I think of them as messages the body is communicating with us with. And if we learn to listen to those messages, interpret them, and respond to them rather than ignore or suppress, I think we already open up an opportunity not only to feel more balanced physically, but to create those conditions where we can reach to our true nature and feel more balanced, more in line with our inner values and how we want to live the life.
Yeah.
And if nothing else works, just drink some water, go for a walk, get some fresh air, and get some sleep. And I think a lot of life's wisdom is surprisingly simple and completely free.
Thank you for sharing that. And thank you for being on Purpose Project. And then thank you for the work that you're doing.
Thank you very much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
As I reflect on this conversation with Marina, I'm struck by how deeply her work aligns with this season's theme, living our own drumbeat. At its core, Marina's business is about helping people live to the beat of their own drum. But what she makes clear is this: we cannot ignore harmony. Living to our drumbeat means living in rhythm with nature. Not just the physical world around us, but with our own internal nature, our soul's calling, the way that we are uniquely designed. Within this one conversation, Marina highlights what I've been learning on my own personal journey, that alignment with our own nature changes how we lead, how we serve, how we live, and how we feel. It's a sense of freedom. Living your drumbeat is powerful. Living in harmony with the earth, with others, and with yourself is transformational. Marina, thank you for being on the show, and thank you for the work that you are doing. Thanks to all of you for tuning in as well. Keep listening to your rhythm and honoring the nature that makes it uniquely yours. Purpose Project is brought to you for education and for entertainment purposes. This podcast is not intended to replace the advice that you would receive from a licensed therapist or doctor or any other qualified professional.